Welcome to the YCast, everybody. I'm your host, Malachi, and we're here to talk about Season 9, Week 13 of Dragonball Z League. Joining me today are my co hosts.
Guildmaster Andy.
Uh,
And Motork.
yeah, alright, so let's get started. We're going to start this week with the divisional or the playoff standings before we get into the individual matches for the past week. And what we're going to focus on are the people who are set for the playoffs, who are set for the buys, and who is still fighting for it. Starting with North Kai, Earth Defenders are clearly set for the playoffs with the bye week. And unless I'm much mistaken, the Rugrats are confirmed in for the playoffs with the Vals and the Saiyans.
Fighting for
Fighting.
their spots.
Yeah, that could turn a spot this week. I believe Valkyries would have to lose this week, and Saiyans would have to win. Um, and that's
The
going to be
Rugrats are indeed locked in.
yep. And that's only because next week, Saiyans and Vals have their divisional match. Um, move.
So I wouldn't be surprised if either side is going to throw in a ton of Zenny at each other.
It wouldn't be surprising. Um, any other comments there, guys?
Oh, we're locked in.
Yeah, for North
No.
Kai.
No. Other than that, we're fully set on going on test builds right now.
And the league
Nice.
rejoices.
Yeah, nice advice to give to your opponents going into week 14 that you're taking the piss.
Uh,
Well, we're just trying to take advantage of the time right now.
Understandable. All right, so moving on to East Kai. Majins are confirmed for the bye. Namek and Derp are confirmed in. And Ginyu, unfortunately, is out. Not much to say there. This was pretty much confirmed going into this week with a slight chance that Namek or Ginyu could have overtaken Namek, but such was not the case this week. Um, and then moving on to West Kai, Androids and Cold are definitely in. There's still some competition for the bye week. But Dragon Ball Warriors and Gohans are still fighting to go to the playoffs. Any thoughts about that, guys?
Gohans are pretty much confirmed out.
Uh,
It's an interesting division because they're still fighting for the bye week. So I would say just keep an eye on that division right now. See what's going to happen.
yeah. Just as a reminder to everybody, um, both DB Warriors and Gohans have to face Cold in the final 2 weeks of the season. The short of it is as long as DB Warriors wins one more match, Gohans cannot get in. And if Gohans lose one more match, they cannot get in. So it's an uphill fight for Gohans. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully we won't have a three-peat Gohan playoff bowl winner. But who knows? Um, but let's move on to South Kai, where we have Muscle is confirmed out, but Booze, Afterlife, and Blades are all competing for the bye week. Andy, you got any comments about this?
Y'all can have it. I just want to get my team situated for the playoffs,
Oh,
considering they've taken the piss these past weeks.
well, there you go. Those are the playoff standings. In short, we're really just looking at Vals, Saiyans, DB Warriors, and Gohans to hash out who will be in. Everyone else pretty much is set to be in, even if West and South Kai still need to figure out who is going to get the bye week. Um, Moving on to our matches of week 13. We're just going to do a quick win loss record for the week, and then we'll talk about our divisional matches. Um, First up was Afterlife versus Muscle, which was the divisional that Afterlife won. Second match was Rugrats versus Valkyries, another divisional which Valkyries won. Third match was Booze versus Derp, which Booze won. Fourth match was Ginyu versus Cold, with Cold pulling out the victory. Match 5 was Namek versus ED, with Earth Defenders getting a victory. Match 6 was Majins versus Blades, with Majins winning. Match 7 is DB Warriors versus Gohans, with DB Warriors pulling out a win for that divisional, despite having randomized builds and no Zenny spent. Match 8 was Androids versus Saiyans, with Android 17 pulling out a very nice performance and giving us a win. Moving on to the first divisional, which was also the first match of the week, was Afterlife versus Muscle. What did you guys think about it?
It was a win-win for us. Because we had a really high chance of making the playoffs if Afterlife lost, and we were guaranteed in if Muscle lost. I kind of was hoping that Afterlife would lose, because then we beat Booze, and then we were confirmed for the bye week. But Afterlife won. Could have been better. Afterlife won, but
what about you, Motork?
I got nothing to really say on the topic. I'll be completely honest. So
Yeah,
it's not my division.
it's because it's one of those divisions that I have not been paying the greatest of attentions to, because we've been dealing with some other issues, as you guys probably have noticed.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about how big those problems have been for you later.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on to Rugrats versus Valkyries. Maybe you have some more insight on this match, Motork?
The Valkyries and Rugrats.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Fasha just remembered what her punches can do, and just started hitting a small child for it.
Indeed.
Child abuse.
She remembered what she can do, and when it came back in full. And this is what I mean. A lot of people are still figuring out their teams, and the second they figure it out, look what happens.
Yeah, I mean, Fasha was definitely looking a lot better. And I think we also just need to remember that Gotenks is always a wild card, and I think sometimes, the Rugrats just and it's a wild card for a reason, because there's just sometimes where it just doesn't work, and we saw that this week. I know Geom in particular has been very iffy about Gotenks' viability, and we'll see what happens. Andy,
Yeah,
got any thoughts?
not really.
Okay.
It was a fun match to watch.
Yeah. It is also good to see them. Super Saiyan Goku on their team is doing a lot better as well.
Yeah, GT Goku doing a lot. I won't say he was doing a lot better. I haven't really followed his stats, but he was definitely a lot more impressive than I remember him being
He
the
went
last
in.
few weeks. I mean,
Though, to be fair, we don't know if it was him doing really well or if it was Rayleigh for some reason derping.
That's fair. I mean, either one's a possibility.
To be fair, that is the type of fighter Harley hates most.
Yeah.
The ones that are constantly in their face.
Someone whose melee is faster than hers.
Well, it's someone who also has a small hitbox like her, and then she has to, take away that really weird hitbox for Rayleigh and put her against someone else who also has a really small hitbox, and I think that's just your perfect counter right there. But moving on to DB Warriors versus Gohans. As we said a minute ago, Gohan spent a good bit of Zenny, and DB Warriors, Orange was just having some in real life stuff going on and didn't get builds in on time, and so their builds were randomized with no Zenny spent, and they pulled out a win, which was very impressive to watch, especially considering that Nam started with Savior. What did you guys
Pulling a
think about that match?
tambourine out here. You pulled a tambourine.
That he
The
did.
savior is here.
Yeah, that he did. And Noms, that savior came in a lot more handy than people were thinking. And he
So
because
I didn't get to watch this match. Did he tag?
Nom tagged, came back in and threw out.
oh
He threw out and connected with two ultimates,
my goodness.
which was a big part of why the DB Warriors were able to pull out a victory.
That's insane.
The other half of that was when early Goku stepped on the field. He just kept getting into clashes and winning. He
Yeah.
he did 4 clashes and won 3 of them after Nam had already closed a lot of the gap with his ults.
Yeah.
So, Motork, anything to add?
Nah, you guys basically everything I was thinking about saying. You guys already covered it, so.
Cool. So, all right, Andy,
Yeah.
it is time to talk about your favorite subject of your team. So,
Last 4 weeks, we've gone 1-3 in the league. Janus decided that he's done trying, and he's going to just ride the wave to the playoffs, and maybe he'll start trying again there. Yeah, Jirobe has continued to put in the elbow grease ever since we put him on Dendays, which is really nice. Sword Trunks continues to not do what we tell him to do. He refuses to throw out ultimates, and when he's on his melee build, half his build is to throw ultimates, and he still doesn't throw out ultimates. He's so terrible. I don't care if he did 40k. He's not doing what we told him to do, and it gets on my nerves.
You're like that parent's like, but Dad, I won first place, but you didn't do the project I told you to do.
Yeah. What else? Tapion had a bad week. And we are trying to decide what we're going to do with him. He just couldn't connect with some B2s, pretty much. That's what happened there.
yeah. So,
what else? We brought in Tao. It's not working out that well. He probably just got destroyed in the Maju, to be honest.
yeah, that.
And Super 17 was a sad, was sad collateral damage of bringing in Cyborg Tao. A decision I now regret. Not bringing in Cyborg Tao, benching Super 17 for Cyborg Tao.
Yeah, but have you been testing him? Because if I remember last time seeing him, he wasn't doing spectacularly. Cyber Tao?
Cyborg Tao? Oh, we had him on a pretty decent AI. We've been testing him all season.
It would have been nice to see him then. See if he would have made the difference.
He fought Maju, but it's about what we expected.
Yeah.
Janus decided that he doesn't want to try anymore.
So here's the thing. Looking at his stats in the last 3 weeks, because he was benched week 10, and looking at week 9, he did 98k. So you can't really call that bad. So week 11, he did 51k. Week 12 was 17k, which I'm gonna be perfectly frank, with as weird and as week 12 was, I wouldn't even consider looking at that because you had a lot of top tier players. Like you had an absurd number of people who were doing 80k plus week 12 that normally didn't, and you had some top tier performers like Cell and Janemba who were bad. And then week 13, Janemba did 36k. So with Janemba in particular, I'm not sure you can say he's broken yet. He might have had a couple bad weeks.
That's 30k less than he needs to be doing.
So I'm gonna be straight up. Like I don't expect, like even with Cell, I just simply don't expect him to be a 60 to 70k character every week. And maybe this is just with your team, that's what he needs to do. I don't know. But what about maybe especially with your difficulties with Cyborg Tao and Sword Trunks being very well known and documented at this point? I mean, are y'all just at the position where Janemba for your team to get wins, where Janemba has to be a 60 to 70k character.
Yes, and I hate that about our team right now.
Um,
I hate that we have to rely on one character to carry us through to win every match.
And when that
Sucks.
character does not perform, that's a very bad omen for the rest of the match.
Well, yeah. Well, if the rest of the team performed and we still won, I'd be mad at him, but I'd still be happy that our team's. I don't like the fact that we have to rely on one character to basically carry us.
yeah,
Because it makes me think of last season when you were Shenron. I hate that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just sitting here looking at your stats. I mean, definitely the last couple weeks were rough for y'all, with one character at least doing less than 20k. Um, I think going forward, I think a big thing will be, going into your off season especially, will be focused, making sure you have your tests organized and figured out for, excuse me, Cyborg Tau and Sword Trunks.
Do you imply that I want to keep Sword Trunks in?
Assuming, well, during the off season, I mean, who else can you swap anybody?
I can swap them at the beginning of the playoffs. I will bring back in Super 17 if Sword Trunks keeps underperforming.
Sorry, you misunderstood. I'm thinking, beyond the playoffs into the off season, like when you get back to off season testing.
Oh yeah, I get it. Get Sword Trunks working. Cyborg Tau.
Yeah, just sit down, focus on testing for them. I know for my team, we're going to be looking at more Giro testing, and I have ideas, on how to work with that. But you sit down, you do some, make sure you've got every AI covered with at least 2 or 3, at least one test, but preferably 2 or 3, and just kind of see what pans out.
You don't want to write an AI off because they lose. You want to see how they perform. You want to see what they do. And Piccolo AI was doing what we want, so that's why we brought him in on Piccolo AI.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah, for Cyborg Tau, I honestly wouldn't. I think y'all just had the wrong counter up to start. I think is all it came down to.
Oh no, we knew we planned for Maju versus Tau and we knew it wouldn't end well.
Okay, so can you explain that reasoning to us a little bit?
Because no one else would have done any better. They did the
fair.
exact same thing with Maju that that Adult Trunks did. So Jane would have gotten destroyed, and Tapion, if I recall correctly, was on the bench this week. Sword Trunks is Savior, and Yajirobe has Savior. Who's starting?
Yeah, I mean you're not wrong. But at the same, I mean it would have been great to see him take down Majub. So you're not wrong. I think you might not be giving Janemba enough credit there, but you would probably know him better than us.
How much did he do this week? That's why I'm not giving you enough credit.
Who did he end up facing this week? I don't remember.
I don't remember either. I'm pretty sure it was someone like Majin Vegeta.
Yeah. And
a character that build-wise he's supposed to counter.
That is fair.
Or Goku. It was probably Goku.
Either one of them. At least lineup-wise, both, Goku is another tank with Chaozu AI and Vegeta is a spammer. So, although I would kind of challenge the idea that a tank is the counter to the natural counter to a B2 spammer. If they're aggressive, yes, but I kind of see tanks as being weak to spammers in the sense that they don't, like, if a spammer is doing their job, they don't have time to heal, kind of thing. But with the way
who says a tank's running healing? Look at Mecha Frieza.
Let's see. Well, I'm not looking at Mecha Frieza. I'm looking at Janemba, who has defense up to Serious Eternal Life. I mean, it's not a bad build, but you can only work with what you got. I think that you know maybe try a different. Have y'all tried Boo AI? Things like that.
Phil
So
doesn't want to change the AI.
okay, so but let's go ahead. We've talked about your troubles a bit. Let's move on to another problem child or a seeming problem child with future Gohan, who
Hmm.
It seemed like they had him working going into the season. He's just not
yeah,
working out right now.
yeah.
I don't. Has his AI been different from the beginning of the season, or have they been just throwing every type of AI on him?
Let me take a quick look. Uh, this last week, let's see, at least the last 5 weeks, he's been on Majin Buu AI. Um, and beyond that, it looks like he's been on Majin Buu AI for a while. And I mean, a couple weeks. So kind of where I'm focusing on is like this past week, he got wrecked, and in week 10 he got wrecked by Cell. Um, and then week 12, I think he also had a pretty bad showing, although that could have been him as a closer. Um, but am I the only one here who seems to think he has been a bit of a problem child for Gohan's?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Uh, Motor, what about you?
Oh, give me 1 second.
Uh, Andy, what about you?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, because I mean, so my feeling was, 1 week, yeah. It could have just been, Cell was on fire, and future Gohan just couldn't do anything. But after this last week, I'm not so sure anymore. What about you, Motork? Now that you're back,
Um, Cell being on top. Is that what you're saying right now?
so I was saying if it was just week 10, I wouldn't be as sure of future Gohan being a problem child. But after this last week, I'm starting to think he might be.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely been the odd child for them.
Yeah,
He's the problem child. He's a problem child by the literal definition.
yeah. Um, so I'm not sure what to do with him. I think part of the challenge with future Gohan is just fitting him with the rest of the team because he's not Kid Gohan where you can't do anything with him and have him be good, but he also seems to struggle no matter where you put him.
Yeah. So it's hard to place him. I would just say if you have a okay build on him, use it. But honestly, with the off season coming soon, or just take advantage of all that to see if you can fix your most problem child and get your team working as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, especially with y'all with Gohan's at the end of the season, I'd be a little concerned if going into the playoffs with a character that seems to be struggling as much as he has been. So, um, but anyway, so since we got a representative of the team here,
Hmm.
um, it, it's time to address maybe a few things that you know have been joked around at least a little bit in Discord and are seem to be coming up seriously in the YouTube comments. Um, about Earth Defenders needing to be nerfed. Um,
Uh, yep.
so let's just start off by saying that first, congratulations for having an awesome season. Um,
First time we've ever gotten a bye week. First time.
yeah, and hopefully y'all have a good playoff track record until you lose to androids in a 2-0 blowout in the bowl.
Oh,
Maybe
you're hoping so hard.
we're not going to talk
You
about
imply that they reached the playoffs?
Hey, we are both guaranteed for the playoffs. That's
Well,
all
no,
I'm gonna.
ED had a playoffs curse, remember?
This is true. Let's see how you handle that. But let's just go ahead and.
Well, technically, we've already broken the curse because it was always the first round we cannot get past. Now we're going
Well,
straight.
no,
So, hey,
you
hey,
have gotten the bye before.
yeah,
You've been destroyed in week 2 in your first match. It's always your first match in the playoffs that you get destroyed.
yeah. So let's.
Your first set of 3, you
Yeah,
always
Andy,
lose.
let's move on to some discussion about this. So, Motor, how about you start us off and talk about some of the issues that have come up?
For one thing, people believe that we're just horribly unbalanced as a team, that we're unable to be defeated.
No.
No. So, let's take a look at this a little more rationally. Most of the things that people are looking at pretty much center on Mid Goku with his very flashy ultimates and high damage numbers on his B2s. In particular, one of the comparisons that a few YouTube commenters have been whining about, and it is whining, honestly, is comparing him to Super Saiyan 2 Teen Gohan. Um, and let's just do a quick fact check, which is, you know, Super Saiyan 2 Teen Gohan was nerfed because not only did he have a really strong ult, um, he had a stupidly fast B1 charge rate, unforgivable as a B1, which is a better Now I'm Mad in a lot of ways, and his ult is a cutscene, which would always, which started, base damage was around 15 to 16k, and if you got hit with it, even if you were on the ground, you got the full damage. So let's go ahead and just fact check that there and point out that Mid Goku's with Super Saiyan, not Super Saiyan, Super Plus 2, yes, Mid Goku has Super Saiyan 2 Patara now. Um, that damage is about what Teen Gohan's base damage was. Now, can it go
Yeah.
higher with B1s and Indignation? Yes. But I think there was one, didn't, and maybe y'all remember, but didn't Teen Gohan have like a 25 or 26k father son Kamehameha at some
He
point?
did. He did. I don't remember the build exactly, but I remember he did. He basically almost wiped an entire character in one shot.
Yeah.
And then not only that, the thing about Teen Gohan is, if it clips you, because with most ultimates, if it just clips you, it doesn't do its full damage. Like let's say you are, because there's frame catches with each ultimate, like especially with beam ones. If it clips you a little bit, you still have a chance of falling out of it and not taking the full damage. But with a cutscene ultimate, especially if you're on the ground, it will still hit you for the maximum amount of damage.
Yep.
If Mid Goku were to hit you on the ground with Now I'm Mad Kamehameha, it is going to do half, which means it is only going to do 8 to 9k.
Yeah. Um,
And there has been plenty of times where I just talked about the clipping thing happened where they just got clipped a little bit and they were fine.
yep. So, and let's also, so moving on from there, let's bring up the next point in this whole thing, which is, the second thing is that one thing staff has said is that they don't just look at win-loss record when considering nerfs. Even
Mm-hmm.
granting that nerfs should happen, I don't agree that they should, which we can talk about why in a minute. Um, but they look at how those matches went, and quite honestly, y'all just had really good RNG for a number of your matches.
Oh yeah.
Um, the match versus the Boos is a good example, where the Boos got at least a person or two ahead, and all of a sudden
Oh no.
it
Uh,
it just fell apart.
Nova destroyed both Yamcha and Tien with hardly taking any type of damage himself.
And then
And then you counter sweeped.
y'all basically counter sweeped. By all rights, y'all should have been dead in that match. There was another one. I think it was I believe Blades, didn't y'all do decently well against them until the very end?
Hmm.
I don't think
Um,
we did that well, to be honest.
You shut down mid Goku with sword trunks,
And we changed his build because we found Sword Trunks to be so infuriating that week that we changed his build.
but he did shut down with what people are calling the issue of our team,
yeah,
and basically it proved to be a non-factor because Goku, as well as he is, as much as he is the mascot for our team, as much as powerful he is not the deciding factor of our team.
yeah. I mean, you are completely correct there. Um, y'all have done a fantastic job figuring out your team members so that even your weak spot is not really that big of an issue because the rest of your team just works that well.
We were able to figure out because we figured out one thing from the beginning. If we were going back to the base game but updated, there's a good chance that a lot of our older builds that were working before and AIs were gonna work. So we tested that out and testing it in the first weeks, and it proved to be true.
Yeah,
That's what we did,
yeah.
and we were just improving from there.
And y'all have done a really good job there. Do you have anything to add to that, Andy?
No,
Okay. So now let's get into the reasons why, other reasons why Earth Defenders probably shouldn't be nerfed yet. The biggest issue in my book is we had a major rule change going into this season, which was changing the version of the game and changing the AI. Because of that, this is in a lot of ways season 7 all over again, where we
Hmm.
not every team has to refigure out their characters, and I think y'all just did it first, and you
Hmm.
guys did it really well. Like,
That's and I just told you my theory on that, on our original theory on maybe our old builds would work, and it did work.
yeah, and going forward into season 10, like I'll be the first, like from my own team, I think we finally got 17 working, which is a fantastic thing.
Hmm.
But as season 10 rolls around, and as my team has not just Cell and Ader figured out, we have Cell, Ader, 16, 17 figured out. As hopefully going into season 10, Blades have Janemba, Trunks, Tao, Yajirobe, and Tapion all figured out. We're probably going to be seeing a lot more teams that struggled this season do really well next season. Here's a case in
Yes.
here. Here's a case in point. What was your record season 7?
Ooh.
If I
Like
remember,
I,
go ahead.
huh?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, not the greatest.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, it was about 4-11. Um,
Yeah. No, I think it was even lower than that
it
actually.
it, it might have been it, but it was
I
very
think it was
low.
two. I think it was. Think we only had two wins.
But here's my point. You know, sometimes some teams have a really tough time coming back, but then you have a really tough season. You take the off season, you test, you get things working. Come back season 8, and y'all did fantastic. Y'all went from South Kai to North Kai in one season, and you've continued to do well. But as we come into this next season, many more teams are gonna be at that point where they're gonna have more of their characters figured out. And I
Hmm.
think until then, I don't think we have seen anything in the game that is fundamentally broken.
Yeah.
I know Andy wants to point out one thing that he thinks is unfair, um, but like, y'all had this build season 6, for Mid Goku in
Mhm.
particular, you had the same build season 6, and Burn had to make the same point of he could get countered and the rest of the team would still have to carry the victory.
yeah,
Exactly.
I say it's an unfair advantage, but that's the same way as saying that it's an unfair advantage for certain B2s to do more damage than other characters who have the same B2.
And can you elucidate on what specifically you mean?
Goku has 6 Blastocks and a 3 Blastock Max Power B1. There are only 2 characters with that in the league, and that is him and Final Form Frieza. My idea is to make now a Mad Cost 4. But, yeah, there's nothing really wrong with slight imbalance, because that's sort of the soul of the league, is that some characters are designed to be slightly better than others, and some characters are slightly worse than others by stats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just like if you look at the different Gokus as a good example, you have the first Goku who has Kaioken, which in the series, if it was player versus player, could be one of the most broken B1s you could use.
Yep.
Because you could keep stacking that.
Like, let's look at stats here. Like, would the league really be that fun if everyone was as good as, say, Ooh before he took the piss the past few weeks, or Super Boo or Teen Gohan? If everyone was a 40k character, but no one was a 60k character or a 30k character, would that be fun? Would that be interesting? Yeah, exactly.
I mean, so there's always room for,
The
looking
league
at,
becomes unfun when everyone is just as good
Predictable.
as each other,
yeah,
or if there's like an 80k character or like an under 20k character. That's when
Yeah.
the league isn't fun.
Mhm.
When you have a character doing absolutely terrible, or a character that's absolutely destroying everyone he fights.
Yeah, and then it's the most enjoyable that when you believe this character is just going to destroy this other character because this
And then he
character has
beats
been
them.
losing, and then the other character that's been losing just uppercuts them and knocks them out.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, it's like we don't need to be nerfed. We've understood from the get-go that many of the matches we won by luck. If luck wasn't on our side, we would be looking at a 4 or 5 loss record right now.
Oh, yeah.
And no one would be saying anything, would they?
Mm-mm.
It's doubtful. I mean, there's always going to be the people who, in that moment of being a little bit salty, probably say a little more than they should. But the people calling for nerfs definitely would not be as vocal as they are if you were sitting at a 10-4 a 10-3 record or a 9-4 record.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that about sums it up. Do y'all have any other comments y'all would like to close this out with?
No.
Other than before the pitch, before extend the torches come in, wait until next season. It's
Yeah.
going to be different.
That is a good thing. And if precedent is any consideration here, it took at least 2 seasons for the Super Saiyans to get nerfed, and you've done well this season on the new difficulty. Hopefully next season you'll have a good season, but it will be clear that it will be because of
People figuring out what the new AI does.
yep. So
Because it's always been a one character that hasn't been performing that honestly gave us the RNG wins.
hmm So let's close out our cast with predictions.
Mm-hmm.
Andy, you know the drill. I'll call out the matches, and we'll start with you, and then Motwork, and then me. Except
Mhm.
when we have a match when you're on that team. Okay.
Okay.
So match 1, Derp versus Namek.
Namek, I like King Piccolo, and I think they're going to win this one as well.
Motwork.
Derp, Hercule.
I'm gonna just for me, I'm gonna say I can see this going either way. I think on the whole, Namek is working a little bit better. So that's what I'm gonna go with. Muscle versus androids.
Androids, because I don't like Muscle.
Can't imagine why. Motork.
Metal people.
Okay. And I'm clearly not gonna vote against my own team, so we're all locked in for androids. Cold versus DB Warriors. I will note that this is a divisional match.
Cold. Mecha Freeze is going to be in, and Mecha Freeze is going to launch 3 supernovas and destroy the DB Warriors. Because he is my favorite character.
I'm also going to say Cold as well, because Code has always been a very solid team, and I think they'll keep that streak up in this match as well.
Fair enough. I'm gonna say DB Warriors because I want to see Cold lose.
Of course you do.
Am I completely unbiased and not at all related to divisional standings? You know, no reason at all that I would want to see them lose. None whatsoever. Um, anyway, moving on. Vals versus Majins. Andy?
I will go with the Valkyries. I think that they can win here. I don't really have anything else to elaborate with.
Motork?
Vals, because if Fasha keeps up what she did last week and they figured it out, Vals just became that much more of a deadly team.
Indeed. As for me, I'm gonna say Majins, mostly just to be different. It is, I think, going to be a close match depending on who ends up being benched these last 2 weeks. I don't know. So we'll see what happens. Saiyans versus ED.
I'm going to go with ED. I don't think Saiyans are going to win. I'm sorry, guys. All the teams I thought could beat ED this season have already lost against them.
Well, I can't go against my own team, but I say we have a very good chance of losing because we're on our full testing build, meaning we're not putting them at their 100%, so there's a very good chance we're going to lose.
Halo.
I'm going to say Saiyans just because I want to see y'all lose at this point.
Same.
So, okay. Booze versus Blades.
Booze, we're falling apart. We're bursting at the seams. We're going to lose this match, and it sucks.
In before you win. Motork.
Booze. The Chewy, their gum is going to cover all the swords, and they're not going to be able to pull them out of their sheaths. Watch.
Well, to be honest, we have a really good record against the Booze, so that has never been that effective.
And I also kind of have to give it to Booze. They are just a little more solid than you are at the moment. So, Ginyu versus Rugrats.
I will go for Ginyu Force because I want them to win, and I think with Kid Trunks probably being out this week, Toku Sentai have a chance.
Toku Sentai, Toku Sentai.
Ginyu Force rules. Ginyu Force rules.
And I also want to see Ginyu pull out a victory. So let's hope they can do it.
You hear that, Guinea Force? You have the White Cast support. So
Indeed.
we can't give you our energy because you don't use Spirit Bomb energy for anything, but you have our support.
Goku can teach Ginyu the Genki Dama.
All right. and for the
I'm
last
a weeb.
and for the last match of the week, Gohan's versus Afterlife.
I'll go with Gohan's because I want Afterlife to lose. Will be guaranteed second.
That's fair.
Afterlife, because they've been a bit on and off consistent, but I feel like they're starting to figure themselves out more than the Gohans have.
That is fair. I want Afterlife to win entirely for divisional reasons. So, all right. Any final comments, guys, to close us out?
I can't wait to lose.
Protect the innocence of the Earth Defenders.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us for the YCast this week. Join us next week when we discuss Season 9, Week 14.
And talk about how we got destroyed by the Booze.
Later, guys.
Adios.
See ya, folks.